Okay, let's get into ranking these goblins. I've picked goblins that I'm familiar with from media that I enjoy. First up, we're definitely going to start with the Dungeons and Dragon goblins. Now, these are kind of a main staple for goblins. A lot of goblins are based off of these Dungeons and Dragons goblins. So I cannot, in good conscience, put it lower than the B tier, which I wouldn't want to begin with. I really like D&D goblins. I like how they are smart, cunning, and they build traps and they hunt as a pack. Goblins are really pack creatures. That's what you want to see from a good goblin fantasy, right? And in D&D, they have a really good hierarchy. They have hobgoblins and bugbears, but I do think there's a little bit more to be desired. So I'm gonna put them in the A tier for now. All right, next up is the goblins from Clash of Clans. I bet everybody has tried to download this game on their phone before. These are just your typical run in, steal money, and run out. They target the gold generators. A lot of people do that money-hungry goblin aspect. It's not my favorite, but it is there. So I'm gonna put them in the C tier. Because yeah, they have that aspect of stealing gold and whatnot, but it's not very exciting. It's just a green guy that steals gold. They could have made it a burglar unit or something else, and it wouldn't have made much of a difference. It being a goblin is not critical to its design. Next up is the goblins from Terraria. Now, these guys are gadgeteers. You even pair up with one afterwards. You get a scientist that lives with you, I believe, which is pretty interesting. I do like the goblins that are sort of tech-based. It's very fun and awesome. And one thing I do like about their gameplay is it's not just like a big boss. It's an army, which is exactly what you want out of a goblin gameplay. You want to fight an army. You want to fight a horde. You want to fight out multiple goblins to make it feel like this ravaging horde is coming to attack you, right? So it's everything you want out of it, but I can't put it in the A tier. I can't put it in the S tier. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's pretty standard goblin-esque. You fight an army, afterwards you have some brilliant gadgeteering goblin that helps you out. So it's gonna be in the B tier. Next up is the Hogwarts goblins. These are the goblins that you see in the bank when they come in. They're pretty smart, intellectual, money hungry again. Now, I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter movies. I really like the first few, but these are not what you want out of goblins. I don't know if that's just me, but I want something menacing, something dubious, as I would say. I don't want some bank broker for my goblins. So I'm gonna have to put this in the D tier. Next up is the Hobbit goblins. The Goblin King. They even have that jaunty tune. It's an easy S tier for me. I love the Goblin King. I love that fight scene where they're chasing them through. It's the peak of goblins. Basically, what D&D goblins establish, but turned up to 100. I love it. I love how they're cunning and smart, and they can trap the main characters, but they're not good enough to kill them. And the main characters are able to escape. There's still this goofiness to it, which is exactly what you want from the goblins. All right. Next up, we have the Goblin King from the movie Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King. Yeah, I'm just gonna add. Yeah, this is going straight in the trash. If anybody of you've seen this movie, it is terrible. It's a wizard with horns, green skin, and ears. That is all it is. It has nothing to do with goblins, and the other goblins are the exact same. They could have swapped it out for any monster, and it would have been the same. It's just a magical green person. It's trash, it's awful, I don't like it. Alright, moving on. Next up is the World of Warcraft goblins. I'm a big fan of World of Warcraft. I haven't played it a lot lately, but I have played it in the past. I like the goblins. I like that sort of techie goblins like the Terraria goblins. They're pretty goofy. They build these robots and tech machines, and they're pretty cool. I'm gonna have to put these in the A tier. They're pretty solid goblins, and I like the tech aspect of them for sure. Next up is Green Goblin. I know he's not a real goblin, and most of the time he's just a human with super strength and whatnot. But in some iterations, he does become a goblin, and he is evil and menacing. So that's why I have him on the list. But I can't in good conscience put him up with the likes of the Goblin King, D&D Goblins, and World of Warcraft. Even though he is a staple in Spider-Man villains, I just gotta put him in the C tier. That is still pretty high on a Goblin tier list, I have to say, for Green Goblin. Alright, so next up we have the Skylanders Goblins. Now, these guys, again, are those tech-centric goblins, which I'm a huge fan of tech-centric goblins. I know it doesn't seem like that on the tier list. Well, maybe I'm a bit biased, but when I played these games when I was younger, I really liked tank missions and whatnot of the goblins. It was very interesting, but even though the tech-centric goblin is cool and fun, it doesn't have that goblin oomph that you're looking for when you're trying to find peak goblin, right? So I'm gonna put it in the C tier, below the Clash of Clans goblins for sure. All right, next up is the Goblin Slayer goblins. Now, this is a pretty good anime, not for the faint of heart, pretty graphic, but it is exactly what you want out of a Goblin TV show. One thing is that the goblins are not that smart. They don't talk, they can't communicate, well, maybe through grunts and whatnot, but they're not smart like every other goblin on this list. They cannot make stuff and do things together. So they're pretty much just like feral beasts, which is fine. It's a type of goblin you can do. And if you ever want to run a D&D game with feral goblins, watch this show. If you're over the age of 18, watch this show. That is how you want to run feral goblins. So they're really good, either A or B tier for sure. Maybe even S tier goblins. But then again, to knock it down from S tier, right, to maybe A or B, since they don't have any of the other goblin tropes. They don't build stuff, they don't steal money. One thing they do is they do battle in hordes. So I'm gonna have to put them, I can't put them in S. I'm gonna bump them down, maybe high A into low A into high B maybe. I'm gonna do a high B. To be safe. So that's the final placement of my list. Please let me know what you thought in the comments and if I should move any of these around, and I'll see you on the next one.